Dear 10th standard students and parents, I am Kiran and I am an educator. CBSE board exam dates are just announced. I have made a few tutorial videos covering each and every concept in the NCERT textbook through question and answer format. The question and answer format will help you to fetch all the points that should be included in your answer. Basically, it will help you to cover the whole textbook in a short span of time. A word of caution though, what I am doing is giving you just an extra support. However, your primary source of learning should be from your teacher at school and the NCERT textbook.
Okay, dear students, let's move on to the next unit, that is Unit 4 of Chapter 1, History. The making of Germany and Italy. I have covered this unit through 3 questions. Let's start with the first question. What led to the unification of Germany after the revolt of 1848 in Europe? What led to the unification of Germany? So that is the key idea we have to answer. What led to the unification of Germany after the revolt of 1848? Now, we have covered this answer through 6 points. First, in the first half of 19th century, that is between 1800 and 1850, peasant uprising, liberal nationalism and revolutionary movement, peasant uprising, liberal nationalism and revolutionary movement all had one central idea in common, that is the idea of nation state. So we have got 4 points: peasant uprising, liberal nationalism, revolutionary movement and nation state. Okay, so connect these points. So in the first half of 19th century, that is between 1800 and 1850, there was peasant uprising, liberal nationalistic movement, revolutionary movement, all had one central idea in common, that is the idea of nation state. Students, you will recall the fact that we have discussed all these concepts, that is peasant uprising, liberal nationalism, revolutionary movement, even the idea of nation state. All these points were discussed in our previous videos, that is for Unit 1, 2 and 3. So please refer those classes so that you will get a good idea about what exactly these concepts are. Okay, the second point. This liberal initiative to nation building in 1848 was repressed by the combined forces of the monarch and the military. Monarch and the military, supported by large landowners called Junkers of Prussia. So, monarch and military along with the large landowners called Junkers of Prussia. Mind you, this is not Russia, this is Prussia. Okay, so they together tried to suppress this movement or movements, because we have got multiple uprising, liberal nationalistic, revolutionary movement, etc. So they were all suppressed by a combined force of monarch, military and the support of large landowners called Junkers of Prussia. Next, however, Germany was not a unified country until 1860. In this backdrop, the Germany was remaining not as a single nation or a country. It was a loose confederation of independent German-speaking states. It was just the language that connected many areas, that is confederations. They were all independent. You can see many kingdom of Saxony, kingdom of Bavaria. Look at this. You can see the political map
Of those days.
Okay, so these were just geographical places. They were all kingdoms and they were independent of themselves, but they were all unified by the common language, German, and therefore they were loose confederations, not an independent nation. Okay, so it was a loose confederation of independent German speaking states, with Prussia being the most powerful among them. So, Kingdom of Prussia was a part of this confederation that connected them through the single common language, that is the German language. Now, the process of unification led by Otto von Bismarck, the chief minister of Prussia, began in the 1860s and resulted in the formation of the unified German Empire in 1871. You can see a portrait of Bismarck. So, Bismarck was the chief minister of Russia, and he led the unification process in 1860s, and finally that resulted in the formation of a unified German empire in 1871. So from these loose confederations, it got transformed into a single German empire in 1871. So this was led by, or Bismarck was instrumental in bringing about this kind of unification. Okay, and it took 3 wars which spanned for 7 years with Austria, Denmark, and France, which finally led to Prussian victory and completed the process of unification of Germany in 1871. So this unification came at a very high cost. What was it? 3 wars which spanned for 7 years with Austria, Denmark, and France. And that finally led Prussian victory. And it is the Prussian victory that results in the unification of Germany. Okay, and Prussia was also a part of the German Empire. All right, and last point, Kaiser William I of Prussia. Kaiser William I of Prussia became the first head of unified German Empire. So what led to the unification of Germany after the revolt of 1848 in Europe? And it all started with 1860, led by Prussia under the minister Otto von Bismarck. And it took 3 wars and 7 years. All right. So we have completed answering the first question. Now we'll move on to the second question. All right. Okay, dear students, now moving on to the second question of Unit 4, Chapter 1. Let's see this. Briefly trace the process of unification of Italy. In the first question, we did cover the unification of Germany. Here, we are talking about unification of Italy. Italians remained fragmented over several dynastic states, including Habsburg Empire, Sardinia Piedmont, Austrian Habsburgs, Bourbon of Spain, and the central region by the Pope. That means the so-called Italians who are from the same ethnic group, who have got the same culture, who spoke the same language, they were not being present in one geographical territory. Instead, they remain scattered in different kingdoms or empire. Like for example, Habsburg Empire surrounding Austria-Hungary region. We have studied that in Unit 3 as well as in Unit 2, Habsburg Empire. So some of the Italians were living in this part of the Europe. Sardinia Piedmont. You can see this, Kingdom of Sardinia. Sardinia Piedmont, again population got scattered there. Austrian Habsburgs, Bourbon of Spain, Kingdom of Spain, Bourbon of Spain, and the central region, Papal States, somewhere here, central region by the Pope. This is called the Papal States. So the first challenge for the unification of Italy was that the so-called Italians, the subjects of Italy, were not present in this geographical part. Instead, they remained scattered all over the Europe in different empires. That was the first challenge. The second challenge for unification was that even the Italian language which they spoke, was spoken in many regional and local variation. So apparently, even though they spoke the same language, because of the huge regional and local variation, they never sounded from the same language. They sounded quite different. All right. So there is as such no sentiments that is coming out of the language, because in many places the language even sounded different. Okay, due to regional and local variation. That was the meaning of this statement. Now, Italian unification was spearheaded by Chief Minister Cavour of Sardinia. All right, the Chief Minister of Sardinia has decided to unify the state of Italy. Chief Minister Cavour, through tactful diplomatic alliance with France, all right, Kingdom of Sardinia is sharing its border with France. Okay, so in alliance with France, Cavour of Sardinia succeeded in defeating the Austrian forces. These Austrian forces were defeated in 1859. Okay, so that they could liberate places where Italians lived. Okay, now armed volunteers under the leadership of Giuseppe Garibaldi captured South Italy and the Kingdom of Two Sicilies. This is the Kingdom of Two Sicilies. This is the southern part of the present day Italy. So this portion, this geographical region was actually ruled by King of Spain. Bourbon King of Spain was ruling here. Okay, so he was driven out. He was defeated by Giuseppe Garibaldi, and thus the kingdom of Two Sicilies were liberated. Okay, this could help to mobilize peasants in that region to drive out the Bourbon King of Spain, who was ruling southern Italy since 1734. Kingdom of Two Sicilies was under the control of Bourbon kings, who were basically from Spain. Okay. In 1861, Victor Emmanuel II was proclaimed as the King of United Italy. The seventh point, in 1861, Victor Emmanuel II was proclaimed King of United Italy, and the unification was completed in 1871 with Rome as the capital. So before unification, Italians lived in this kind of fragmented land. The present day Italy was actually under different kingdom, and it was part of different empire. And now what happened? In 1871, after 1871, you could see that
All of them got unified into
United Italy, or it is a nation state of Italy. Okay, and in 1861, Victor Emmanuel II was proclaimed King of United Italy, and the unification was finally completed in 1871 with Rome as the capital. So, dear students, we have got 7 points. Let's make a quick recap of this. Briefly trace the process of unification of Italy. That was the question.
and the answer is as follows.
The points which you should include in your answer is as follows. 1. Italians remained fragmented over several dynastic states, including Habsburg Empire, Sardinia Piedmont, Austrian Habsburgs, Bourbon of Spain, and the central region by the Pope. That means they were geographically separated. Another major challenge for unification was that even the Italian language was spoken in many regional and local variation. That means an emotional thread through language wasn't fully accomplished. Why? The language sounded totally different, strange in different parts of the Europe, okay, where these Italians resided. Italian unification was spearheaded by Chief Minister Cavour of Sardinia. Sardinia is a kingdom which was bordering with France. Chief Minister Cavour, through tactful diplomatic alliance with France, instead of going for a war, through diplomatic alliance with France, could succeed in defeating the Austrian forces in 1859. As we have already discussed, Austrian Habsburg had some kind of power or dominance in this part, and they were defeated by Cavour along with the alliance of France. Armed volunteers under the leadership of Giuseppe Garibaldi captured South Italy and the Kingdom of Two Sicilies. So this part was captured, that is the southern part of Italy. This could help to mobilize peasants in that region so that the King of Bourbon, basically King of Bourbon is from Spain, and he has been ruling this part of Italy ever since 1734, and he was finally driven out of southern Italy. In 1861, finally, Victor Emmanuel II was proclaimed King of United Italy, and the unification was completed in 1871. Even though it was proclaimed to be under Victor Emmanuel II in 1861, it took another 10 more years to complete the unification, and Rome became the capital of Italy ever since. Okay, I hope these points are clear to you. Now it's time for us to move on to the third question. Now moving on to the third question, that is the last question of this unit 4. How was the history of nationalism in Britain different from the rest of the Europe? So the key idea of the question is nationalism in Britain. Okay, we can answer this question through 8 points. Let's start with the first one. The concept of nation state in the formation of Britain was not the result of a sudden upheaval or revolution. So the key point is, unlike other nation state formation which we have studied all this while, formation of Britain was not the result of a sudden revolution. It's not that it happened in 2 years or 3 years where some people got together, they revolted against monarchy and they grabbed power. No, it wasn't so. It was a slow process rather. The primary identities of the people who inhabited the British Isles were ethnics such as English, Welsh, Scot, or Irish. So, England, there was ethnic group English. Wales, it was Welsh. Scotland, it was Scots. And Ireland, it was Irish. All right. So, we have got 4 different ethnic groups who inhabited these different islands that together became what is called Britain or United Kingdom as of now. Now, these ethnic groups had their own cultural and political traditions. Thus, there was no British nation prior to the 18th century. But as the English nation steadily grows, England started growing. It has become more and more powerful.
Grew in wealth.
The English Parliament seized the power from monarchy in 1688. The Parliament usurped power. All right. It seized power or usurped power from the monarchy in 1688. Now, the Act of Union of 1707 between England and Scotland resulted in the formation of United Kingdom of Great Britain with the domination of English members in the parliament. Okay, so it was the domination of English members in the parliament. So they got into an agreement. England and Scotland got into an agreement. However, England became the dominant member, even though it is considered as United Kingdom of Great Britain. Domination was from the English members. Eventually, Scotland's language, culture, religious identity, and political institutions were systematically suppressed. By who? By the English. So because of their dominance, Scotland people, they started losing their culture, their language was not encouraged, their religious identity was suppressed, all right, and their different political institutions were removed. So overall, it was suppression from the hands of English, that is, people from England. Now, Ireland, coming to Ireland, Ireland suffered similar fate as that of Scotland. After a failed revolt led by Wolfe Tone and his United Irishmen in
1798.
this is the portrait of Wolfe Tone. So Wolfe Tone and his United Irishmen of 1798, Ireland was forcibly incorporated into the United Kingdom. Ireland was forcibly incorporated into the United Kingdom. That means already England and Scotland were together, and now to that Ireland was forcefully annexed, incorporated into the United Kingdom in 1801 into a single political entity, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Now there is an and Ireland was included. Okay, so United Kingdom of Great Britain, to that Ireland was added. So the new political entity is the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Thus, unlike other European nations, Britain was formed by a long drawn out process with England dominating and suppressing other kingdoms to become United Kingdom. So we have got 8 points. First, the concept of nation state in the formation of Britain was not the result of a sudden upheaval or revolution. Point number 1. The primary identities of the people who inhabited the British Isles were ethnic, such as English, Welsh, Scot, or Irish. These ethnic groups had their own cultural and political traditions. Thus, there was no British nation prior to the 18th century. But as the English nation steadily grows in wealth, the English Parliament seized the power from monarchy in 1688. The Act of Union, that is in 1707, between England and Scotland resulted in the formation of United Kingdom of Great Britain. That was the first formation. However, the domination was for the English members. Okay, so they formed a parliament. However, it was dominated by English members. And then what happened? Eventually, Scotland's language, culture, religious identity, and political institutions were systematically suppressed by the English. Ireland, later on, after another 100 years, in 1798, there was a war. What? Ireland suffered a similar fate after a failed revolt led by Wolfe Tone and his United Irishmen in 1798. Ireland was forcibly incorporated into the United Kingdom in 1801 into a national political entity, that is the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, because Ireland was now annexed. Thus, unlike other European states, Britain was formed by a long drawn out process. What do you mean by long drawn out process? A drawn out process means that it took a lot of time. Okay, a protracted war, a protracted action. Ever since 1707, it continued till 1801, so that the last Ireland was annexed. Okay, it was the drawn out process, means extended process, took lot of time, with England dominating and suppressing other kingdoms to become United Kingdom. With that, this unit 4 is completed under chapter 1, and now we'll have to move on to the next topic.
If you find this class useful, please let me know by pressing the like or hike button and by writing your comments. If you want more such videos, please subscribe to my channel, follow my page and share my videos. And I wish you all the best for your exams.